So where was this type of reaction last year when Angel Reese got chokeslammed by Alyssa Thomas of the Connecticut Sun? Y'all remember that? She got fouled so hard, they kicked Aaliyah Thomas out the game with a flagrant 2 foul. What did Angel Reese do? Nothing. She didn't get up and try to swing on her.
When I worked with RG3, he would make all of these sort of corny jokes about milk and how much he loved it and how important it was. And he always points out on social media the color of his wife's skin, as if the color of her skin is what makes her special, as if the color of her skin is what makes her a good wife.
What Ryan Clark is doing and essentially signaling to his fans is, yo, he's dancing for the white man. He's pandering in real time. Why, as a black man, would Ryan Clark even try to stand on this hill? It makes no sense.
Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. Sports media, I'm going to have an opinion. This person might not agree with it. That person might not agree with it. It's a bad look for him as a man. I hope you get the help you need, brother.
Welcome back. What's good? This is the Furious Robinson podcast, and I'm your host, Furious, your curator of conversation, wordsmith aficionado, voted most likely to be trending down the timeline. Hit the like button early, drop a comment, sub. This is a Sick Times media production. You see the planes. This started as a hard foul in a WNBA game, and now we're watching two former NFL athletes trade haymakers over podcast mics. RG3 said Angel Reese might hate Caitlin Clark. Ryan Clark didn't just check him, he tried to drag him. He brought up private conversations, and he even said he was one of the worst teammates he ever had. It's kind of wild. This is a bashing in real time. This is why I call it podcast wars. So Ryan Clark woke it up. Bruh, you know what it is with me and you. I saved you the entire season on Monday Night Football. I urged people to let you be you, no matter how corny, how bad a teammate you were, I had your back. What did you do? Invite someone on your show you know I don't fool with to ask questions about me, and then hit me weeks later to tell me you're gonna challenge one of my takes. You're a phony, bro. One of the worst teammates I ever had, both on the field and on TV. You gotta do what you gotta do. I didn't attack your wife. I spoke on what you do on social media and TV. Like I said, I met your wife and she seemed like a lovely lady. That was worth more than the color of her skin. You be good, bruh. And this tweet is loaded with all types of passive aggression, nuances, and overall, essentially what Ryan Clark said in real time, because he dismissed RG3's point of how Angel Reese does have somewhat of a light vendetta against Caitlin Clark and turned it into a race-baity topic, essentially saying RG3 is trying to validate the white man's point. He's dancing for the white man. That's what Ryan Clark is saying in and throughout this video going viral from the pivot.
You guys remember last year when Angel Reese celebrated Kennedy Carter getting that flagrant foul on the hip check against Caitlin Clark? You remember that? On the sideline, just, yeah, baby, get her, you get her. Who celebrates like that for a flagrant foul on another player if they don't dislike that player? Okay, you want some more evidence? Here's some more evidence. Remember last year when they were talking about who gets the credit for the expansion and the eyeballs and the popularity boost of women's basketball, not just the WNBA, but women's basketball in general, because of the spike in the women's NCAA tournament and WNBA viewership. A lot of people were attributing that to Caitlin Clark, and rightfully so. This is what Angel Reese had to say, and I quote, "People are talking about women's basketball. You never would think they'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to the games. We got celebrities coming to the games, sold out arenas just because of one single game. Just looking at that, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on to be that for my teammates. I know I'll go down in history. I'll look back in 20 years and be like, the reason we're watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too. I want y'all to realize that." Now, I heard a lot of people say that I or others have made Angel Reese the villain, Did you not just hear herself call herself the bad guy? She called herself the villain. I'm not making her the villain. She's making herself the villain.
Oh, I understand why people are playing identity politics, and I see where Ryan Clark got his talking point from. In the video, his wife is in the background just hanging out and chilling. So obviously people are thinking, oh, this is racially charged because this black man is speaking on a black woman while his white wife, which I read the comments, people were going crazy, is getting nasty outside. And this to me was very much a flagrant foul on the play. You should never bring up another man's wife, let alone his family, because that's going to open up the floodgates for your wife and your family. And we don't want to know your skeletons. We don't want to be all in your closet. But when you start to speak on these things, Ryan Clark, this is when it gets tricky.
But he does understand hate, because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese pushed one of her teammates. Caitlin Clark had a hard foul, which is part of basketball. I feel like it was assessed correctly. And Angel Reese's reaction is the sort of reaction you get in a situation when you feel like you took an intentionally hard foul. That's competitiveness. That's rivalry. That's not hate. And so now, though, when RG3 jumps on to the hate train or to the angry train, and now follows along with what we saw from Keith Olbermann, what we saw from Dave Portnoy, as they poured on to Angel Reese to make her the villain in Caitlin Clark's heroic or hero story. Right. The one thing we know about RG3 is he's not having conversations at his home about what black women have to endure in this country, about what young black women and athletes like Angel Reese have had to deal with being on the opposite side of Caitlin Clark's rise and ascension into stardom. Now, when you look at it, I think A'ja Wilson is the face of the league. A'ja Wilson is the best player in the league. Caitlin Clark is the most important player in the WNBA. And so now, if you're RG3, when is the last time within your household you've had a conversation about what she's dealing with? You haven't been able to do that because in both of your marriages, you've been married to white women. You haven't had opportunities to have those conversations to educate you on what they're feeling, what black women deal with, what they're seeing when they think of a young Angel Reese. And the whole time that he's mimicking Angel Reese and bobbing his head and moving his neck while he's doing this whole piece, his wife is in the back amening and clapping. And so to me, it's just another situation that now this young lady has to deal with.
Oh, this was nasty work. Ryan Clark essentially said that RG3 hates himself. He's practicing self-hatred. How would you understand the plight of a black woman if you've been married twice to snow bunnies, to white women? How would you understand some of the mental attacks that black women face if you don't even have that in your own household? And this when Ryan Clark essentially got nasty to me. Why would you bring up this man's family? Why would you bring up his wife? The fact that you're speaking to even knowing his wife, meeting her, speaking to her character, why does it have to be about race with Ryan Clark? And this is where I maybe sense a smidgen of grifting. I sense some pandering here because there's no reason to bring this up. If the play was essentially a basketball play in your mind, why now insert Dave Portnoy? Why now insert people that have nothing to do with the conversation to essentially feed into your argument that RG3 is validating the white man and dancing? What Ryan Clark is doing and essentially signaling to his fans is, yo, he's dancing for the white man. He's pandering in real time. Why as a black man would Ryan Clark even try to stand on this hill? It makes no sense. So you telling me RG3 doesn't have a black mother or father, aunts, sisters, cousins, nobody he can pull from. He only has his wife. And this is where I said, oh, this is hate. This is a large form of hate from Ryan Clark. Anybody agreeing with this just plays into identity and race politics. It's easy. That's fine if that's your bag. But I can't subscribe to another black man telling a black man, yo, you're not black enough and you can't speak on anything in black sports, because you can say this across the board with Angel Reese, with any black athlete if you want to, if you use this argument. So at the end of the day, it's like, what are we speaking about here? This is a null and void point. This is talking into the abyss. So RG3 heard the shots and didn't just respond. He dropped a full sermon on the timeline. He said, and I quote, "There's a line you don't cross in life," and Ryan Clark sprinted past it. And from here, so RG3 said, yo, stop playing with me. Stop playing with my family. He dropped a sermon on the timeline. He went biblical on the timeline on Ryan Clark. I can't hold you.
Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. Sports media, I'm going to have an opinion. This person might not agree with it. That person might not agree with it. But what you don't do is turn around and personally attack me and my family just because you don't agree with a sports opinion that is purely based off the sport. I didn't make it personal. But what that really shows is just how low of a person Ryan Clark is. But Ryan, you crossed the line, man. You made it personal and some. I really believe there should be no space in sports media for personal attacks.
RG3 took the high road. I understand. He took a road that sometimes people take when they're just like past the issue. They're having a little bit of patience. But let's make it clear. What Ryan Clark did was very corny and very lame. It shows a hater in real time. Why would you have in your mind and in your mental Rolodex that RG3 was essentially making milkman conversation behind the scenes?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Because as you two work together, I guess you picked up on these subtle nuances. And yes, RG3 may do some interesting and quirky things online with his wife, but that doesn't mean he's less of a black man than you because he does it. And that doesn't even give you cause to bring up his wife in a sports take to essentially feed your base and feed your narrative. We get it. You have to pander to a base. We get it. You have to grift to the black plight, but essentially on the back of another black man. That's where it gets kind of wild to me. So Ryan Clark, we got to chill. And this is why I call it podcast wars, because they're doing anything to essentially move the needle, to go viral, to be on the timeline. They have to keep bringing in new avenues of their point, their base. And I get it. Sometimes it stands firm. Sometimes they're on point. It's never 100% time they're wrong. No, but this time Ryan Clark got it wrong. You never need to bring up anybody's personal. Leave the women and children out of it. Because now if we start to bring up your wife and put her on screen, now what? People can get their jokes off. People can say crazy and salacious things. We don't want that. So the fact that he leaned into this narrative to me after RG3 dropped the receipts because he read a quote from Angel Reese herself, that's what makes it goofy. It makes it seem like Ryan Clark didn't even see what RG3 said. He just jumped out the window based on personal opinion, based on essential internal bias. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Ryan Clark on point? Is RG3 essentially validating and dancing for the white man? Or do you stand on the side of, yo, as a black man, you understand all nuances that come within black culture, and that's that. You don't got to prove yourself by essentially validating your wife, your kid. Like, come on, bro, that's nasty. Hit the like button, drop a comment, sub. This is a Sick Times Media production, the Furious Robinson podcast. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we up.